Just as you get out and stretch your legs, he's gonna get out and stretch those pack of condoms. Let me just go ahead and make sure, we good over here. I don't want no ah ah ah. Stop. No. What's up, nighttime spooks? It's been a minute. How you doing, Blair?
I got the Jimi Hendrix figurine from a friend once. It was one of those small dashboard ones about the size of my hand. I'm not even a Hendrix fan. I couldn't name a single song of his. My friend just thought that it looked cool and gave it to me as a gift. I said thanks, stuck it on my dashboard, and didn't think much about it again. A few months later, I was driving home one night from a job site about 2 hours outside of town. It was close to midnight and the highway was completely empty. I had the radio off and was half zoning out when I saw a figure on the side of the road.
Okay.
It was a man walking, asking for a lift.
Tough.
He looked normal enough from what I could see.
Okay.
Normally, I wouldn't stop for anyone that late, but I think out of boredom, I decided to pick him up.
You should have just said, I think out of cluck intentions, I just picked him up. Cause you saying out of boredom doesn't that's cap. That's cap. You got cluck intentions. You're clucky. Yeah. Then no, that's like you normally don't do that. What made you do it tonight? What makes any other night? Get the cluck out of here.
He jogged up to the car and spoke through the window. He said, "Thanks, man. I've been out here for hours." His voice was calm, polite even. I unlocked the door and he climbed in. We drove for a bit in silence. After a few minutes...
But okay, where is he at in the car? Is he like in the passenger seat or is he behind like... You know what would have been weird? If he got into the car and sat right behind you. No, that's weird.
Started talking. He said he was headed to the next town over to see a friend. He asked why I was driving so late, and I told him about the job site. He nodded a lot, but didn't say much. Then, out of nowhere, he pointed at the dashboard. "Hey," he said, "you like Hendrix?" I looked over at the figure. Yeah," I said. "Yeah, big fan." His face lit up. "Man, that's awesome," he said. He smiled and leaned back. "What's your favorite song?" My heart sank. I didn't know a single song. My mind went blank. I just said, "All of them." He laughed a little. Yeah, they're all good," he said. Then he went quiet for a bit, just staring out the window. The rest of the drive felt heavy. Every time he spoke, it made my skin crawl a little more. He asked weird questions like if I ever picked up hitchhikers before, if I lived alone, stuff like that.
And this is what you get for picking up somebody that you don't know. That's your fault. You cluck ass.
Eyes on the road and prayed for the next town to show up on the horizon. After what felt like forever, he said, "Hey, you can let me out here." I slowed the car down and pulled it over to the shoulder. Before he got out, he looked at me and spoke. "To be honest, I was going to kill you," he continued. "But I couldn't do that to you," he said, nodding towards the dashboard. "Not to a Hendrix fan." He opened the door, stepped out, and shut it softly behind him. I hit the gas and didn't stop until I got home. I barely slept that night.
So you mean to tell me, if I was a Drake fan, Kendrick, J. Cole, some Luther Vandross, some Marvin Gaye, gonna be, well, if I was like, what? You gonna gut me like a pig? Alright.
Morning, I turned on the local news while drinking coffee. There was a report about a man found dead on the same highway. The suspect was still at large. Crazy that a Hendrix figurine saved my life.
Now I gotta listen to Hendrix.
I was driving late at night with a friend on a little road in the middle of nowhere in the country.
Wow.
It was about 1 or 2 in the morning. We were surrounded by woods and fields and the typical landscape when you're in the country.
Okay.
After a tight corner in the middle of a forest, we saw a lady on the side of the road a few feet in front of us. Immediately, my friend, who was the driver, slowed down the car.
Immediately! He slowed down. Okay. If you're clucky, just say that.
Needed help. Personally, as we were approaching this person, I started to feel uncomfortable. I told my friend, and he said, "Nah, don't worry. I will just ask her if everything is okay." When we stopped the car, she looked at us and said that her car had a dead battery and she needed some help. She was in her 40s, maybe 50s, with long gray hair which looked really dirty. At this point, I was wondering how this situation was possible. We were talking with a totally random woman in the middle of the night in the middle of a forest. In hindsight, it seemed completely weird and dangerous, but at that moment, my friend was totally fine with the situation.
At that moment, I would have been like, where's your car? Huh? Where's your car? You're lying. You're lying. Okay, it was tight right there. I did a whole 360. Where's your car? I don't see it. All right.
It was a mix of his conscience and kindness, I think.
What?
As I was thinking about the situation, the woman continued to speak and said that her car was on a forest road just to the right of the main road. She showed us a tiny muddy path which was going deep into the woods. I looked at my friend, and he looked at me, raised his shoulder, and told the woman, "Okay, you can walk in front of the car. We will follow you."
Wow.
She smiled at us and said, "Thanks, you're really nice. I wasn't expecting people like you." She started to walk, and we followed her slowly. As we were going deeper into the woods, we started to become more nervous. We weren't able to see the road behind us anymore. My friend started to realize that it was maybe a mistake. During this whole time, I was trying to explain to him how creepy this situation was. Finally, we arrived at the entrance of a clearing.
All because of your kindness and consciousness. That's exactly what's going to get you clucked up if we don't get clucked up right today in this moment. If you keep this up, your kindness and your consciousness is going to get you clucked up. See, there's a difference between being kind and being nice and then just being stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. Stupid. You're stupid.
Things started to become really creepy. First, there was no car, but an abandoned house with the roof completely destroyed and 2 caravans. It looked like a gypsy camp or some other type of travel group. Secondly, the woman started to run to the caravans and disappeared behind them. At this point, it was clear it was some kind of ambush or foul play. My friend immediately went back in reverse. As we were leaving as fast as the road was permitting it, the woman reappeared and ran to our car. She wasn't saying anything, just running. My friend accelerated in reverse, and we managed to make it back to the main road and leave very quickly. We immediately went to the police station a few dozen miles away. When we told them our story, they said we weren't the first. It appeared it was a caravan of weirdos who were living out there, trying to lure away drivers by asking for help.
Wow.
All the people in the area knew them, so they were aware of them, and it was a very remote road, and there weren't a lot of strangers passing by. I'm not sure what was going on in that clearing, but I hope the police shut it down, or the caravans moved on before they got any other out-of-towners to fall for their trick.
I would say, or they could have probably put some signs up, like hella signs, but then I realized they was probably going to tear
Okay, so about 20...
Then I probably realized that, they was probably going to take the signs away. Yeah.
Years ago, when I was a naive 20-year-old, I was walking down the road in a not-so-great area. It was summertime, and I was dressed appropriately for the heat, in shorts and a tank top. I was very thin and was downright skinny back then, and got mistaken for a sex worker more times than I cared to admit. Anyways, I was walking to pick up my son from daycare, and as I was going about my way, a truck full of men started to catcall and follow me. They turned around several times to yell at me out the window, and I was getting nervous about it. I was passing a gas station parking lot, and a man not much older than myself stopped in a nice car and asked if I would like a ride to avoid the catcalls. It was a nice gesture, and I didn't think too much about it, as I wanted to escape the van full of men catcalling me, but I really should have thought twice about it. So I got into the car with him, and he asked me where I was going. I told him it's about a mile straight down the road we were on. He started out going the wrong way and told me that he needed to turn around. He started to ask me about myself, so I told him the truth. I was escaping a domestic violence situation and was staying at a women's shelter nearby. I was telling him how closely my activities were monitored and that I was due to pick up my son at any minute. At some point, I noticed he took another wrong turn, but I didn't know the area at all, so when I pointed it out, he said he was taking a shortcut or something, and I guess I believed him since I didn't know the area. Then I got a whiff of something. I know now, years later, after working as a...
Yeah, you got a whiff of that cluck ass. You got a whiff of that used condoms in the back.
that it was the smell of death, specifically a dead body beginning to decompose. I know this for sure now, but I did not know back then what the smell was. I turned around and looked in the back seat, looking for spoiled food or something. The car was absolutely spotless. I brought up the smell, and he brushed it off and changed the subject, but for some reason the smell just started getting stronger.
What do you mean change the subject? It smells dead in here. How does your car look so clean, but it smells like a dead body? Like, that doesn't make sense. It smells like death. And you want to talk about McDonald's.
Get over it and brought it up again what the smell was. The man said that he didn't know, probably something he forgot to take out and had gone bad. I was baffled by this though, because there was not a crumb in that vehicle, and he kept it in pristine condition. But eventually he dropped me off safely to my destination. When I smelled my first dead body working as a nurse, it triggered my memory of the smell of that car ride years ago. I think back to how lucky I was to get out of that car alive, and the man who must have been a serial killer with a dead body in his trunk left me alone. I'm very sure that he was aware that not only would I be missed, but that I would also be missed quickly, and that probably deterred him from trying anything. My movements were tracked very specifically by the shelter I was staying at, and that was likely the only reason I made it back out of that car that day.
Jesus Christ.
I was 21 that summer, walking along a stretch of road near Gloucester, England, with my thumb out and a backpack slung over my shoulder. A music festival had just finished, and I was trying to get back home without spending the little money that I had left. Hitchhiking wasn't unusual back then as...
How did you get there? How did you get there in the first place? See, y'all gotta start doing better. Like, yeah, no, I'm gonna get there, but I just don't know how I'm gonna get back. Nah, what? Y'all gotta start planning your money better. Like, y'all gotta start planning from start to finish and everything in between. You can't just go on a leap of faith and talk about, oh, well, I'm gonna get there. I just, I don't know how I'm gonna get back. That's nah, boo boo, nah, boo boo.
People did it. A white van slowed down and stopped a few yards ahead to pick...
Because you lost me at white van. You lost me at white van. You lost me.
The driver leaned over and pushed open the passenger door. He was wearing blue overalls, and his face and hands were smeared with black grease.
He pulled up, saw you, pulled up, slowed down, and opened the door wide open. I'm not gonna lie. If I was the one to get hitchhiked and you did that without talking to me first, I'm airing this whole place out. That was stupid. That's like GTA 6. That's like GTA. That's like Grand Theft Auto. Are you serious? The person saw you from a distance, slowed down, came to a stop, opened up the side door. Without talking to you first? Without assessing this? Because now it would have been different if you was a man. Yeah, see? Would have drove right past your ass.
Crawled out from under his car. His hair was thick and curly, dark as oil. I climbed in and the whole van smelled like petrol. The dashboard was littered with old cigarette butts and greasy rags.
Ew.
He didn't look at me much, just stared at the road. Every so often he muttered something I couldn't catch, half sentences, broken words. I figured that he was talking to himself. There was something off about him. I couldn't say what exactly, just a feeling that I had. After a while, he pulled into a petrol station. He told me that he needed to fill up, so I went out to stretch my legs. He went inside with a couple of empty cans, shouting to the woman behind the counter about buying extra.
Just as you get out and stretch your legs, he's gonna get out and stretch those pack of condoms. Let me just go ahead and make sure, we good over here. I don't want no
petrol. I could hear his voice through the glass, and the woman shook her head and pointed to a sign about fuel limits. When he came out, he was shaking. He slammed the cans into the back of the van, his face twisted. He was talking to himself and called the cashier woman some nasty names. At some point through his mumbling, I heard him say, "She thinks she can tell me what to do? I have to kill her." He kept on saying that, ranting as he drove. I sat there staring out the window, counting the road signs. Each time we passed a village, I thought about asking him to drop me off. Finally, when we hit a junction that pointed towards my home city, I said, "You can drop me off here, mate. My stop's just off this road." He didn't say anything, just pulled over. I thanked him, climbed out, and started walking before he could change his mind. It was the only time I caught a lift that's ever made me nervous. Years went on, and I completely forgot about my encounter with the man. I was in the kitchen when the news came on. 12 bodies found in Gloucester with the husband and wife arrested.
Jesus.
Fred and Rose West. I remember freezing in place, staring at the screen. They showed his face, that same thick hair. I told myself it couldn't be the same man, so I later bought a book about the case. I read about what they did. I turned the page and saw a photo. Fred in overalls, face smeared with grease. It was him, the man I had hitched a ride with years earlier, no doubt about it. I thought about how close I'd been, driving in a van with a serial killer. As far as I know, he only killed women, so it appeared that I most likely never had anything to worry about. But it still irks me, especially how bad of a mood he was in the day that I rode with him.
Jesus Christ.
The one time someone tried to rob me happened on a gray afternoon somewhere between towns in Ontario. I was hitchhiking, thumb out and my head down against the cold, when a pickup slowed and pulled over. The driver rolled down his window. I asked where he was headed. He shrugged and said something like, "Where are you going?" like he didn't want to be pinned down. I climbed in anyway. At first, it felt normal enough. We eased onto the highway and the truck ate up the miles. I tried the usual small talk, job, weather, and how far I'd come. He answered in single words, nothing that invited more, no eye contact. He drove with his left hand on the wheel, keeping his right hand near his pocket. I noticed that, but told myself not to read anything about it. People keep their hands in their pockets for weird reasons, and it was cold out, and he didn't have gloves. Then, while we were cruising, he pulled a pocket knife from his right pocket with his free hand.
Oh.
He reached over the middle barrier in the truck and had the blade pointed at me. "Give me your wallet," he said. I scooted to the far side of the seat, faced him square with my back against the passenger's door. He didn't even look at me. He kept his eyes on the road so he wouldn't...
You're in a vulnerable spot, though. You're driving. I understand you have a knife, but you're also driving. What do you think? Like, what? All I gotta do is just touch the steering wheel and we're both dead. That's like the amount of people that like be trying to do some cluck stuff while they're driving. That you're stupid. You're driving. It's so many things I could do to you while you're driving. Like, that's your man.
My first thought was disbelief. My second thought was to disarm him and take the knife. It was actually pretty easy as he wasn't even looking at me or glancing over. I reached, grabbed his wrist with both hands, and pulled. It was a quick, clean motion. The knife came free before he could tense. I had the blade in my right hand now, pointed back at him, and I could do damage near his waist where he couldn't grab it easily. And I still had his wrist in my left hand. "Pull over," I said. He did, and then yelled at me to get out of the car, like he was the one in charge. He dropped me off and then pulled away, continuing down the highway. I had taken the knife with me, and I slipped it into my pocket and continued walking with my thumb out, waiting for my next ride. That knife was the first I ever carried, as I kept it as my personal knife. I decided I should carry it now because the world had just reminded me that strangers can decide to pull danger out of a pocket like it's nothing.
The world just reminded you that how dangerous it can be, how people can be. It just like what? It just reminded you. What are you talking about? It just reminded you. I don't need no reminder. I know this.
I had to use it again for anything other than to open a can or something, thankfully. But I now have it ready if anything dangerous happens to me again while I'm hitchhiking.
The fact that people still hitchhike to this day. The fact that people still hitchhike to this day. To this day. There was a meme. I seen this video. It was like this black guy was talking to this news reporter or whatever on camera. And the news reporter was black. But like the guy kept saying, it's something about slavery or something. He's like, to this day, you know what I'm talking about. He felt all of that. No. Still hitchhiking to this day is insane. Like, hitchhiking like years and years and years ago, I feel like no matter what time zone, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what's going on, no matter what year it is, hitchhiking will always be clucked. Whether you're the person that's hopping into the car, or you're the driver who's a cluck ass picking up a nice person, a genuine, wholesome person. Hey, you ever see like, and I'm gonna end on this note. You ever see people that have like those thumbs? I think I have like a normal thumb, I guess. But like, you ever see those thumbs, like people's thumbs that go like back, like I don't know how to. I don't want to break my shits. But like it go back, like I feel like that's a hitchhiker's thumb. That's it. Keep it cool. Keep it classy. What? Keep it cool. Keep it classy. And I love you. Stay happy. My family.